There's a very specific kind of tension that Arc Raiders is built for. Not jump scares, not horror. I'm talking about that, like, cheeks clenched. I heard footsteps behind me. Now I'm rethinking my entire life decision kind of tension. Every run in Arc Raiders feels the same way, in that you drop in, you start looting and exploring, and you hear boots on concrete or a door being breached or some gunfire within earshot, and without even thinking, you're yelling, "Friendly, friendly! Just loot, just loot!" Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and you get shot in the face. And honestly, that spectrum between that unexpected cooperation and complete chaos and anarchy is where Arc Raiders live. Hi everyone, my name is Kurosh, also known as Cujo Prime, here on this channel, and if you know me, I cover games that dig into how we play, why they matter, and the stories that spill out of them. And today, we are talking about Arc Raiders. It's a third-person PvPvE extraction shooter from Embark Studios. I've been playing it on my PC, sometimes on my Steam Deck, but mostly on my PC. I've lost count of how many hours, and mostly I'm doing them in either solo or group runs with friends. And I just want to talk about why this game works. That's like what I want to share today, because I believe there's something special about it, where it stumbles, where it works, and why it's just so interesting in ways I didn't expect it to be. All right, let's set the stage. Arc Raiders. It's your scavenger living in an underground hub. The world has gone to shit. There's chrome nightmares, all along the surface, and they're known as Arc. Your job as a raider is to head topside, grab everything you can that isn't nailed down, and maybe do a few quests here and there, and somehow take all that stuff back and use it for upgrades, use it for more exclusive runs, or more runs that get you better loot or anything like that. And if you die, all the gear you brought and all the loot you found is up for grabs. If you escape, you cash in, you grab upgrade stuff, like I said, you and then you go right back out. On paper, that sounds a lot like Escape from Tarkov and other types of extraction shooters, right? But Arc Raiders, I feel like, does something smart in that it's not just that kind of extraction shooter. It's something more. It makes that high stakes loop in a very approachable way. A lot of extraction games feel like they sit in this kind of high stakes poker table setting. It's like all or nothing, one bad call, you're all in or you're broke. I just bet my car, bet my lead, my mortgage, my this, my that, and I'm out of a job with one wrong move, one bad decision, one extra run that I shouldn't have done. Arc Raiders still keeps a level of that tension without destroying your whole life if you make one mistake. If you completely whiff a raid, if you don't extract, if you lose gear, if you make bad decisions, it's okay. You still gain XP. You still walk away potentially with something. There's meta progression that exists. It's roguelike in some ways in this kind of aspect. There's skill trees, account-wide kind of upgrades that give you passive bonuses. There's workbenches and crafting stations, and there's a rooster that gathers you resources regardless of what you do. It could put in more work than you sometimes. And there's even free loadouts. Like, you don't even have to take in anything that you've built or crafted or found that's very rare. Like, maybe you found a really powerful gun that you just want to save for like a well thought out night or coordinated with some friends. You don't have to. You can put it aside and you could just use what the game gives you. The game offers you a default loadout. Is it the best? No. But you don't have anything to lose. It was all given to you. You have some base, like some healing things, some shields, and a default gun and gear, and you're just kicked out the door with like a draft just trooper in the Arc world. It means you're never locked out of this game, because yeah, you could have a bad night, you lost everything, you can still play, you still have those loadouts, and it takes some level of that stressfulness off in the bad way. Like, it's not harping on the negative side, it's enhancing the good parts of the stress that make the game more exciting than it does discomforting or uncomfortable. Yeah, and so in a lot of ways, it has more of a roguelike mentality to it. You lose this run, but you didn't waste your time. The thing that makes Arc Raiders stand out to me isn't this extraction loop that is very roguelike in a lot of ways. It's the social experiment part of it that's happening raid to raid, run to run, encounter to encounter. Every time you load in, it's you, the Arc, and other human raiders. And that's where the PvPvE comes in. You might be creeping through a house, looting toasters, electronics, what have you, hear footsteps, and suddenly your whole mental state flips from a loot goblin to a negotiator. Do you hide? Do you push? Do you gamble on proximity chat? Do you call out friendly, don't shoot, just doing a loot run? Do you just, shoot first, ask questions later? Sometimes it turns into a very wholesome moment, and it can be a wholesome night, and you're just like, hey, everyone on this server on this run is just vibing and killing Arc, and we're unified people. Other times you're at Stella Montes, a specific map that really has become a moniker and brand and kind of like known for how much of a PvP environment it can be with its corridors and just tight corners and just very like just it's tense. It's very tense. And I've had runs where it's just like a simple, hey, you saw you killing some robot. I lended a helping hand there. You good? You need some extra ammo? I got this one, and let's go do some more together. And we tag along, and 8 other people join us, and it becomes like an MMO in that way. And that's where I'm like, at 1 second it's this, next second it's that, next second it's this, and by the end of the session, you're all helping each other, and you're all like, hey, let's get out. Wait up for the last guy. He's still looting that arc. And then other times, like I said, it's pure chaos. Weekend raids sometimes, it's very shoot on sight kind of mentality sometimes. But what I love is that both these realities exist at the same time in the same game. And some players may be pacifists and just focus on that. Other players can live their full villain arc in game and have some shenanigans. Other players can role play and be the defenders of the wastelands, and other players can become villains in the rogue world. And it's just like this kind of there's even been wars between, depending on what you wear, you're signified to be with a faction of players that have like built themselves out in the community. The game doesn't hard code any of this, and there's no morality meter. There's no faction of what is by game good or bad. It's a bunch of players put into the space, and the community made it what it is and what it's become thus far. And it's very fascinating right now, at least. I can say that it's been like, you never know what you're going to get, and you kind of can either be discomforted by that, or you could be enjoying that. To me, it's very refreshing to see a game never turn out the same way twice in that way. I don't know what I'm expecting, and when I go in, I can expect the unexpected. Now, tonally, Arc Raiders is a strange package in the best way, I would say. The lore is bleak, but the humanity has been forced underground, and the surface is dominated by lethal machines, yada yada yada, so on and so forth. We've heard this before. You are canonically expendable, right? But visually and stylistically, the game is oddly hopeful. I was talking with my friend Jay on his podcast, Talcade Brigade, and we were discussing this and the retro futuristic vibes of it. It's very 70s sci-fi book cover mashed up with like a modern art direction. The bright, loud raider outfits that you get to choose from all pop against the world that you inhabit. There's a bit of this I learned from the documentary that the Arc Raiders team worked with NoClip on, that it's very inspired by Italian architecture. And so coming across like some barren towns that are like decrepit now, you see some architecture like, oh, that's not like a New York or a Washington or a Boston. That's a different location that looks more European in some ways. And then there's the arcs, the units themselves. They cut through everything. They're chrome monsters from all kinds of another dimension. They're hard reflective surface. It's like the eerie nightmares you see of what you'd imagine the Boston Dynamic robots come to life, and these unsettling sounds that come with them when they are alerted to your presence. And when I say the sounds, the audio design ties it all together. Like the footsteps you make, the footsteps others make, they can make you second guess anything. The drones buzzing everywhere, the rocket launchers, the weapons you're firing have a unique patang that kind of draws that same satisfaction that like good Star Wars moments have, with like the Slave One's, EMP grenade thing, and like so many iconic sounds in sci-fi. Like this game has such a distinct sound design to it that is, second to none. And there's even perks around it where that sound design, like it gives off your presence, your detection to other players or other robots, and you can go into the progressive skill tree and reduce that and dampen it in some ways if that's what's most important to you. So it's very intentional with that design and what you can and can't do with it. And everything from the visual to the sound to the enemy designs, they all feed into this core word, this core idea, this core principle that everything I feel like is hinged on in this with this game, and that's tension. It's as tight as a rope. It's if you be standing on a gorgeous vista and the sun could be setting through the trees, and you'd still feel that tense moment over your shoulder that an arc or another player could be right behind you, ready to blast you the second you let your guard down. Like that tension is throughout this game and in all the best ways. So between raids, the progression of the game, it does kind of like a live game dance, right? You're managing your stash, you're crafting new gear, you're upgrading workbenches, you're trying to build out what you got. But eventually, after so many hours, you're going to be like, what's next? And that's where they've kind of have some immediate answers, and we're curious about what's further along. And that's something with the expeditions. And so you can have a prestige system is what essentially it is. You'd be wiping your stash clean, kind of starting from scratch, but you would be in turn, in exchange for that, be getting these permanent upgrades. And it feels like they are trying to find a way to leverage that chase that you're always going to want to have while still rewarding you for the time you've spent and what you've worked towards. So you can get a progression in some ways. Now, this isn't without its faults. I have two specific gripes I want to just talk about with the economies and the way it manages these systems. And that's, I think the loot economy is just, it's an overwhelming mess. The game throws a ton of crap at you. Like you will pick up a piece of paper, a few cables, a rubber ducky, and 18 pieces of fabric and some tissues and be like, I don't know. Like you will genuinely not know. There's no intuitive thing to say, this is what I need and this is the most valuable. There might be a quest that early on you could be gated at, and if you don't have 5 apricots or 3 olives or 2 lemons or 15 rubber duckies or something, you could miss out on a bunch of stuff that will just hold you at that point and stop your progression. That lack of clarity is something that is hard to discern, and I feel like the community has been doing their part to try to build infographics and help provide guides and such. And it's very Monster Hunter coded in that way, and that the community is filling these gaps and areas where the game doesn't fully explain itself, which is great. Like I think that's something that bands the community together, but I do think there's a limit to that. When there's a base level of just confusion, you need to start looking at that as like, what are we conveying, what are we not, and why is this an issue as opposed to maybe hidden secrets or something. The toaster matters, but maybe the lamp doesn't. I mean, that's like, how do you discern that? And maybe that's intentional, but it's very just off-putting to me of like, okay, I can kind of group things in a certain way. And the second thing is the repetition can start to creep up. This is a game about playing, you're playing the same cycle, the same ask is being done of you. You load in, you do your thing, you load out, you load in, you do your thing, you load out, and each time is a risk. That part is fun, but the loading in and out, like at a certain point, that the buried city or the dam or anything like that, the maps we have are going to become stale, and you're going to lose a little bit of that, and you're going to really beeline certain loop paths and stuff. You need some variance, you need some new spice of life, and they are immediately addressing it. They're aware of this game, it being an online kind of social space, that there needs to be new maps. So they've kind of had a roadmap through the end of 2025, and we'll see what 2026 holds for it. With the success that it has, I hope that they are able to reinvest that into longer term avenues for content or world building or numerous pieces of just ways to interact with the game. I just, at this time, that's a concern that I just have with any game that wants to present itself as like, hey, we just exist and you can exist here. So, which brings me to my other point, it's online only, right? This is a live game reality, much like everything else I've been saying. So that comes with its pros and cons. There's no solo mode. There's no like solo. You can just shut out other players and just engage as a PvE player, or you can't just engage as a PvP player. Matchmaking, they do a good job. I will compliment them. I initially was kind of worried that if I wanted to load in as a solo player, I would be paired against trios, and I was pleasantly surprised to learn that there is no separate lobbies. It just automatically discerns, hey, you're solo. We'll try our best to pair you with other solo players. If you're duos, you and your friend will be paired against other duo players. Like that is a nice, like refreshing quality of life that I'm so not used to. That I'd love to see other games learn from that. Like some nights you might be playing, but you're just chilling, vibing on your own, and seeing who you run into. Other nights, it's you and your buddies just wanting to hang out, catch a few laughs in between, and make some memories and hang out and just live in this kind of third place. And so that's kind of like where that social experiment of this game exists, for better or worse, in all of its ways, in how you matchmake and how you exist in these worlds and how you raid and how you engage with them. So, knowing all this, who's Arc Raider for? Arc Raiders for? If you love the idea of what a Tarkov type of game is, but you've always bounced off like the high risk or the it's too rich for my blood kind of thing of like I don't leave anything in a rewarding way, I think you could be into this. If you enjoy the emergent kind of chaos that comes from games like Helldivers or CFDs, where you're banding together with friends and there's silliness, there's fun, and you can role play and you can enjoy what the game is offering, and it's all just there. That chaos exists here. Or if you just want a shooter that is so intentional with its design and every noise actually matters and every footstep and every vista is so beautifully rendered, Arc Raiders is absolutely worth checking out. It's not the most forgiving game, but it's more welcoming than many others, and that's the part where it's like it can be as much as you want it to be, but the very least it's opening the door for you and asking you, would you like a drink as you come in. The community is still vibrant. Like this has become one of the highest peak concurrent players on just Steam, let alone other consoles. It's crossplay. That's inducive of like a vibrant community, and I think it's going to maintain that, and keep the game, hopefully as long as they keep the game interesting. So for me, Arc Raiders is at its best when it leans into this full spectrum of what it can offer, right? You can help a stranger fight off a pack of arc, or you can sneak through abandoned houses like you're in The Last of Us, then sprint to the extraction because you heard a sniper and you're like, I think someone's watching me. I can't tell if it was directed at me or the enemy. The tension, the cooperation, the betrayal, the hope, it's all encompassed in this one world. And if you jump in, I give you one piece of advice, and one I think that has been my through line, my mantra. It's much like the Avatar and the Airbenders, right? The airbending monks. You leave all your possessions, you let go of them all that you would think of, that you care about with your loot. Your loot is your possessions. The sooner you're okay with losing everything, the sooner you'll actually enjoy using everything. And that is what I'll leave you with. I hope you found this video very helpful and interesting, and it hit on some ideas that you'd be curious about, or maybe you didn't think about with Arc Raiders. Maybe you did. Please let me know what you think. If you've been playing it or if you've been curious about it, maybe hit that like or subscribe. It really helps me out. Leave a comment whether you're a friendly type of raider or whether you're a chaotic Stellamontes style type of raider. Until next time, I'm Karosh, and I'll see you on the next save point.